Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Spoiler Warning that, unfortunately, as usual with the special editions of Spoiler Warning, comes to you on the back of some very bad news. The news broke last night while we were having our SmackDown watch party, essentially making it clear that what has happened is a whole lot of people have just been released by the WWE. They are mostly NXT talent. However, in addition to NXT talent, there is a lot of question marks going around about a lot of different people who, for a while now, their time may be limited with the company, is basically what I'm saying. I've got a lot of news to share here. If you'll forgive me, I'm just putting together a tweet saying where you can find this broadcast so that anyone who wants to join the YouTube or the Twitch can, and so that anyone can ask the questions that they may want to ask, because I will be trying to answer every question you guys have. I will be trying to answer literally every single question to try and get as clear a picture as we can of what's happened here. Patrick Valentine says hi, welcome, Patrick. And Michael says, how's it going, Tom? I've had a good day so far, but it does suck how many people, unfortunately, have lost their jobs. Oh, it does kind of suck. Rob Walker is here as well, saying, hey, Tom, welcome, Rob. Right. What I've done is I prepared a full document of everything I know so far about the releases, about Adam Cole, Nick Khan, Triple H, Vince McMahon. This document covers all of it, and this I will be breaking down from this video and putting into a video tomorrow for YouTube at this time, 6 o'clock, but it'll be a usual video rather than a live and interactive one. So I'm going to read this out. I'm going to go through the chat, and then I'm going to read this out again and wrap it up. Same as we did with the Bray Wyatt news, that's how I'm going to play this. Okay. NXT's move to Tuesday was the beginning of the end for NXT as a brand as its own right. Vince McMahon openly says that he doesn't care about AEW, but he was not happy at all to have lost so convincingly on Wednesday nights. NXT barely even touched the sides by the end of it. He has demanded changes across the board, and those changes are definitely coming. The releases are with this in mind. Those being released are simply people that Vince McMahon was not impressed by. Some names, such as Mercedes Martinez and Bobby Fish, for example, are people that Vince and Nick Khan had long-standing concerns over. Others, such as Bronson Reed, were people that Triple H and Shawn Michaels were putting over at every opportunity. But when Vince gives you a tryout match, you need to impress. Otherwise, unfortunately, this happens. When it comes to Mercedes Martinez particularly, she was essentially released because they wanted her in Retribution, and she said no. She came back to NXT. The idea was, oh, Triple H will look after you, but they had no real plans for her, so she just became something of a jobber. With Bobby Fish, unfortunately, the concerns were mostly when it comes to his overall fitness and ability to stay off the injury table. He wasn't able to stay off the injury table, essentially. These releases are not people on major contracts. Basically, no one in NXT is. They were not necessarily victims of the same cost-benefit analysis that has been used for other names. No, what has actually happened is that Nick Khan has settled on a strategy to face off AEW, and that is to essentially wait for the Khan family to either bankrupt or board. Either have AEW spend all of their money and go out of business, or just get bored and pull their investment. I'm really not sure they're onto a winner there. The names being released are a mixture of experienced talent, which would strengthen the overall training and morale, and younger talent who would feed ambition and enthusiasm. This really leaves NXT in a very difficult position. There are a couple of names that were nearing the end of their contracts, but really not many. NXT now has very few fresh young faces to bring through, and even fewer experienced hands to guide them when they do actually arrive. That said, NXT still has a hell of a lot of people on that roster. They have more than twice what SmackDown has on its roster. This might not be everyone gone from NXT just yet. There was a time after NXT UK Cardiff takeover when I was able to speak to Triple H, and I asked him about the view of NXT as a developmental brand. He said, and I'm giving you a direct quote here, there's 3 brands, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. That clearly is not the same belief that is held by Vince McMahon and Nick Khan. Now, how does Adam Cole play into this? Much more heavily than seems immediately obvious. From the noises coming out of the WWE, The crisis talks with Vince McMahon apparently went very well, though nobody will confirm or deny if there was any connection to the releases and the contract status. Did those two things in any way combine in order to create this situation? At the moment, we don't know. Reports have started to emerge confirming what I reported during the SmackDown Live watch party that we had last night, that Adam Cole has been offered a major contract, as I quote, a serious offer that would put him on par with some of the top earners in the company. That's top earners in the company, not NXT. We knew that we were touching seven figures, and here we are with reports being made confirming that. It's clear that the WWE were trying to free up some funding, but the vast majority of the names released were not high earners. It's notable that one of those released was Bobby Fish, a close friend of Adam Cole and a partner in Undisputed Era. It would be a huge surprise to me if Adam Cole was happy to sign a contract literally funded by the firing of his friends. But the contract may have already been signed, objects may already be in motion. The meeting did take place before SmackDown began so that Vince could be available to oversee SmackDown. The releases were decided upon before SmackDown ended, and essentially from there, they just took action to free up as much funding as they required to fund Adam Cole. They created a list, as usual, cost-benefit analysis, and also Vince McMahon was much more involved in this one than he has been previously when Nick Khan made most of the decisions. As I've said previously, keep an eye on the Chugs Twitch channel. Keep an eye on Up, Up, Down, Down. How Adam Cole features in the next few weeks will be key indicators of what is to come. As usual with contract negotiations, he's been pitched some storylines for Raw and SmackDown, but not anything as of yet for NXT, and I don't believe he will be featured in any way. Almost all of those storylines involve championships and main event feuds from day one. Yes, there was 100% a suggestion that Adam Cole could drop immediately into a feud with and defeat Roman Reigns. Basically, WWE throwing everything they can at Adam Cole to make him sign. The last question we need to answer is as regards the future of NXT, and I'll start by being blunt. The future is not bright for NXT, and not just because they're planning to change the lighting structure. The WWE main roster, primarily management in the form of Bruce Pritchard, John Laurinaitis, Vince McMahon, and Nick Khan, have all stepped in and taken over, and it has been made clear to Triple H that he has no say in the changes that are about to come. The ongoing conversations are about modernization and profit margins. Don't be surprised to see the cost of tickets to NXT go up. The production quality and physical appearance will be brought in line with the WWE standard. I did mention a few months ago that while we knew that they were creating Raw and SmackDown new sets, I could confirm a new NXT set had been commissioned, and here we are with that finally being reported and confirmed. The changes we're looking at are very simple. If NXT isn't making enough money for the WWE president Nick Khan will change that. And NXT has never been the biggest earner for the WWE, especially as contracts have grown for each individual member of talent now that they're not immediately being called up. Adam Cole is unlikely to be a part of this new look NXT. Neither is Karrion Kross. Remember always that the WWE still have plans to drain NXT of several of its more promising talent. The draft is coming. This isn't finished. The next few weeks for NXT are going to be very, very telling. Keep your eyes peeled, because we all know what happens when Vince McMahon gives up on one of his projects. NXT will be wearing a Hulk Hogan suit and dancing for the crowd in no time. Thank you very much for the follow, Manolia Luna. Appreciate that over on Twitch. There is quite a lot to read. I do have quite a lot of chat to catch up. Before I do, if you are watching on Twitch, please do remember to click follow. That means you will get notifications in future. This is a special edition spoiler warning, but spoiler warning, the news show that we do is only on Twitch and happens Mondays and Fridays, typically. When it comes to YouTube, we will still be doing the video recordings and you'll still get special editions and the live watch parties. Please do remember to subscribe on YouTube as well. And if you're currently watching the YouTube live video, which 14 of you are, please remember to click like as well. That makes a big difference and can potentially continue to gain us subscribers. I'm Tom Colhue. I'm your host. Let's get to some questions, shall we? Joey Drake says, what are going to be the matches for SummerSlam? So far, Cena versus Reigns, Lashley versus Goldberg, the triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship between Rhea Ripley, Nikki Ash, and Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, the Usos versus the Mysterios, Edge versus Rollins. Those are matches so far, but there is going to be apparently a Punjabi prison match between Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal. Ricky says, hi, Tom, more releases. Yes, mostly at from NXT level this time, but it is very relative to Adam Cole's contract situation and, of course, Pete Dunne's contract situation. Supercard says, hello, welcome, Supercard. Glad to see you. AK Ray says, hey, Tom, how are you? I'm all right, thanks, mate. Bit of bad news as regards to releases, but ultimately, I personally am pretty good. Young Drizzy, it's been a while, mate, says, do you know what they have planned for Mandy Rose and NXT? No, and neither do they. Nobody knows what they really have planned. Brandon says, all these releases are honestly starting to put me off WWE. I still haven't even watched any of SmackDown from last night. I get the odd release here and there, but this is just getting ridiculous now, and apparently there's still more to come. To be fair, every single time there's been releases, it's been reported there's more to come. This isn't over. There will be more. The NXT roster is full, and it has been full for a long time. This is, I'm going to be blunt, long overdue, but because it's all happening at once and they've stockpiled so much, it's disastrous for WWE. Ring Scoops is here. Welcome, Ring Scoops, giving us a big pop in the chat. Michael says, AEW is in... I don't know where I got AEW, my apologies. NXT is in desperate need of a rebrand of how bad it's become. Certainly didn't want people to get fired. A rebrand, yes. A rebrand, definitely, and that is coming. But I don't know why we need so many releases to do that, particularly names like Bronson Reed. He's been involved in the top level for a while now. He was on the up. He was getting pushed. Apparently his tryout matches were that unimpressive. AK Ray says, which release yesterday surprised you the most? Bronson Reed was really strange as he was looking like heading to main roster. That is the one that surprised me the most. He was being pushed. He was having the tryouts. He did look like he was about to be called up. And at some point, they've just decided, you know what? Nah, don't want it. Don't want it. Jay Quick says, Adam Cole was secretly given ownership of WWE, creative control, the fabled thing. Michael says, Wrestling Observer newsletter says 7 figures for Adam Cole. So I've heard, and we did talk about this yesterday, that it was going to be about 7 figures, and it would make him one of the top earners in the company. It's nice to have the Wrestling Observer confirming what I've been reporting. Rob says, these releases are very confusing. It was reported today that it's going to be a regular thing. Do you think Finn or Ricochet will get released? No, I think neither of those will be. Ricochet is more likely than Finn Balor, but I still don't necessarily think those are that likely as names to be released. Patrick said, Adam Cole's officially signed. At the moment, not to my knowledge. He has been offered a number of, a variety of options. He has stated his price, and the official offer has come in. The WWE have essentially said this will be the only offer. It will not be the only offer. Ring Scoop says, I heard that Vince and Cole both whipped out their pieces to see who was longer, and Cole won, so he got creative control. That is usually how it happens. To be fair, Vince McMahon is known for his testicle size, not his penis size. It's all about the grapefruits. Oh, why do I say things? Welcome, Para. How the devil are you? Yes, Vince has taken a massive dump on NXT. He's essentially grabbed hold of that particular brand and said, you know what? Nah. AK Ray says, waiting for the day when they release AJ Styles because of financial cuts. This current contract that AJ Styles is on is very likely to be his final one. He has no intention that I'm aware of at the moment of signing a new one. I would also like to see if Jeff Hardy has signed anything yet, because if so, that will likely be for a lot of money too. Brandon says, of all the money WWE make, did they really need to make releases, though, just to make Cole a high earner? No, they didn't. However, Nick Khan is looking at the balance sheet, looking at where they're getting money from and where they're losing money, and has decided where they need to be gaining more. NXT essentially is not a profit maker. It never has been a profit maker. That's what they're trying to change. Michael says, does NXT UK stick around? I'd imagine so, yes, because most people in NXT UK are not earning a lot of money, basically. There are other people in the chat who will know more and might be able to share information or maybe send me a message about it. But to my knowledge, people in NXT UK are not making a lot of money at all. Para said, this is now corporate NXT. Pretty much, yeah. The management have stepped in and said, hey, Triple H, You've done a bad job. We're taking over. Oh, by the way, Triple H, you're still in charge. You still have to do all the work. Yeah. Supercard said, is 2K22 going to be delayed? Is the rumor true? I'm not aware of any rumor. I'm not aware of it being delayed. We have a provisional date that Kuro's been keeping track of, which I believe is 15th of October. I think that was it. So I'd have patience there and wait for a bit more information as regards. Ricky H says, who's actually being released this time? There's a number of people. I believe it was 12 or 13. Bronson Reed, Bobby Fish, and Mercedes Martinez are sort of the headline names, but you've also got Atlas, Sterling, and so on and so forth. I honestly can't remember all the names, and not everyone I'm particularly familiar with. Young Drizzy says, I'm hearing either of Doudrop versus Alexa and Lily for SummerSlam. Can you confirm? No, I cannot. To my knowledge, there is no plan for anyone to play the part of Lily, much like there was never any plan for anyone to play the part of Sister Abigail, but everyone decided there was, and so fans got really disappointed when they didn't get something that was never promised. Patrick says, I hope Indy Hartwell doesn't get released. I hope no one else gets released, to be completely honest. At this point, I'm actually going to touch off that one. At this point, a lot of the competitors that people have been moving to are kind of full. You know, they're kind of full. Like AEW aren't likely to pick up many of these releases, if any. Impact might pick up a few, but even then, they've got quite a full roster themselves. So a lot of these people who've been released are going straight back to the indies where they came from, having wasted several months or years of their life. Para says this is basically like WWE is overstocked on wrestlers and now they have the repercussions. That is exactly the situation. That is exactly it. Exactly it. WWE, if we look at the SmackDown roster, it's 30, 40 people. If we look at the Raw roster, it's 50, maybe 60. NXT at times had more than 100 members of that roster. They were not just full, they were bursting. And people like Kona Reeves, who's been released, no chance of getting on TV. No chance at all. It will be beneficial for people who haven't been released to not have to compete with these individuals, but I don't really want to dip into that because it's not a good thing in any way, shape, or form. Megatron just shouts my name at me. Welcome, Megatron. Bailey says, what is the level of profitability that WWE is aiming for that justifies these cuts? Share price, earnings, or something else? It is a number of different factors. It's not necessarily just one thing. Profit in general is considered not necessarily the driving force, but it's more a situation whereby they are refusing to have anywhere that could be losing money or wasting money, hence the cost-benefit analysis as to what people are making for them and losing by having that wage. It's really a point where people have to sort of reapply for their own jobs at this time. AK says, don't want anyone to get released, but NXT UK have quite a big roster, don't really get viewership, still escape from these cuts. As I say, NXT UK are very cheap, because not many people get paid a lot. And of course, NXT UK members will be moving over to NXT to fill out these gaps. Noob says, all these wrestling news and releases spreading like wildfire. Seems like I'm taking an indefinite break from wrestling Twitter after the news from last night. If you feel the need to do that, mate, you go ahead and you do that. Paris says, Bronson only won the North American Championship 3 months ago. Bobby Fish was also a huge shock for me. Yeah, these were not top earners. They genuinely weren't. Bobby Fish wasn't on a bad contract. He was on an Undisputed Era contract, and that's a good earner. But still, could be a hell of a lot worse. It was definitely a surprise. Like Shay, it's been a while, mate. Welcome. Says, hey, Tom, how are you? Come to your first after your last Facebook Live with Sportskeeda? Way back, mate, way back. Don't you think Karrion Kross's storyline, especially in Raw's NXT champion, is worse compared to the past NXT champions? Yeah, absolutely it is. It's the worst storyline of an NXT champion on Monday Night Raw ever. But there was always going to be someone. How am I? I'm pretty good. I've had a good day. Had breakfast with the family. Went to watch a football game at my local team where I got a season ticket. And ultimately, just having a good time. Just having a good time. Other than this, of course. Matt says, remember when Triple H didn't want NXT to go live, go 2 hours and be on TV? He said during a takeover call back in 2018. Don't personally remember that, no. But I trust that you're definitely giving me the right information. That is what happened. And he had to just sort of get on with it. Ultimately, he's not in charge of NXT. He manages it. But it's still Vince McMahon who makes all the decisions. It's not his call. Mags says, hola, Tommy Gun. I think you've done that one before, Mags. I do believe, by the way, Mags, you have something that you might want to promote in the face of Radio Techers. I saw you just went live as regards the Chelsea news. Joey Drake says, what are the plans for the Alexa Bliss storyline? I can't really say at this point because it's constantly in flux. They're not entirely sure. AK says, if you have to make a stable in WWE, which members would you pick? Adam Cole, Xavier Woods, definitely. I mean, they're just great talkers. Difficult after that. Maybe just that, to be completely honest. But it would definitely involve them. Young says, Eva versus Alexa, a 5-star incoming. No. Alexa versus Doudrop. That'll be the actual match. Sean says, when will we see Mia Yim debut? I feel bad because I'm always saying this to you, Sean, but you're asking questions which lend towards it. Soon. There's more news on that on my YouTube. Mag says, according to a Wrestle Talk article from a couple of years ago, the NXT UK contracts are around 24,000. Yeah, for a wrestler, that's a pittance, but the NHS sort of works against wrestlers in the UK in that they don't feel the need to pay them more because, hey, if you get injured, you can just get your own healthcare for free. Eleanor says, I saw Dakota Kai did a dark match on SmackDown last night. Is that a slight indication she won't be winning the NXT Women's title in order to come up to the main roster? Yes, it is, and that's basically what I expected from the off, to be honest. Dakota Kai is on her way out of NXT. I'm confident of that. She will likely be going to Raw now instead of SmackDown, given the amount of people on SmackDown compared to Raw. And honestly, I'll be glad to see her on the main roster, glad to see her on a main roster contract. It's a shame she's never won the NXT Women's Championship, but I don't see her winning at TakeOver. Michael says NXT will eventually be filled with TikTok applicants. Yes, but in addition to that, and you guys are going to like this, after SummerSlam, the WWE are holding open tryouts. So they're going to hire a load of wrestlers from open tryouts, pay them very, very little, and that's going to be the new class. Yep. Rinscoop says, I'm super disappointed in WWE releasing Tyler Rust. He'd only just got an actual storyline. That's the worst thing here. He just got an actual storyline, just got featured, and here we are. Frankie says, I fear for Toni Storm at this point. We haven't seen her for a couple of weeks, that's true, but I wouldn't necessarily fear for her. She's not on a lot of money either. AK says, why did they absorb Evolve earlier in the year just to release talents a few months later? Their intention was to use these talents, they just didn't, basically. They absorbed Evolve, they bought it, they did what they needed to do to get the talents that they wanted, but the WWE does intend to use everyone they sign, but they sign people before then thinking of storylines. They'll then sit with these people, work out who their characters are, their individuality, how they might then be used. There's a whole planning process. Unfortunately, it's putting a lot of pressure on the individuals to be the creative ones. If you're on the main roster, you don't get to determine your own character, it's determined for you. But if you're not on the main roster and you're on NXT, it's all up to you. It's a very different situation. Thank you for the raid, Megan. Welcome to the stream. Glad to see you. How did your stream go? Para says, in all, WWE released Bobby Fish, Bronson Reed, Jake Atlas, Ari Sterling, Kona Reeves, Leon Ruff, Stephen Smith, who is a referee, Tyler Rust, Zachariah Smith, Asher Hale, Giant Zangier, and Mercedes Martinez. Thank you, Para, for providing the list. Matt says, Kaylee Ray seems to be moving over to NXT US and she was spotted at the PC. If you watched Friday's spoiler warning, so yesterday's spoiler warning, I did go into a bit more detail on that information as well. AK, a personal question. Where would Liverpool finish this season in the EPL? I believe they will finish third. That's what I think they're going to do, third, after Manchester United at top and Manchester City second. Mr. NXT says, do you have any update on what's going on with Mia Yim? They keep calling up more women, but yet they still have Mia Yim sitting in catering doing nothing. Should use her instead of calling up more women? There is actually a significant update on that. If you want to check out my YouTube, it was uploaded in the last few days. I put a link to the YouTube in there. And there is news and an update on Mia Yim in there. It doesn't directly address Mia Yim, though. Bear with me. I just want to clarify which one it is. Because it's not named Mia Yim update. I do sometimes include information that's not the most obvious, you know? Let's have a look. I believe it's a major announcement coming for the women's divisions of Raw and SmackDown after WWE SummerSlam 2021. That is from 5 days ago. 5 days ago. Mike says, thank you, sir. Radio Techers, which is Mags's show now on Twitch and YouTube as well, will be going live at around 8 p.m. to our Fantasy Premier League draft for the upcoming season. If you're interested in football in the Premier League, Mags is your guy. Paris says, so you'd make the party from Up, Up, Down, Down a stable, Cesaro, Cole, and Woods, Breeze if he was still there. Pretty much, yeah. And I'd have them play the exact same characters they currently do. Wouldn't change a thing. Wouldn't change a thing. Patrick says, who gets drafted to the main roster? There's a number of people who were likely to be drafted. I've spoken about Dakota Kai in the past. I've spoken about Bronson Reed, Karrion Kross. There were some obvious ones. We knew Finn Balor was coming, for example. Pardon me. And there's a number of others that NXT basically want to move on because they can't do much else. I would be keeping an eye on Robert Stone and at this point, Legado del Fantasma. Why was Keith Lee on SmackDown having a dark match last night? He is on Raw. It's a dark match. Rosters don't count during dark matches. They just, I think, are wanting to get him back up to speed. I will not be going into further detail on that one. Matt says, I'm not a fan of WWE sacrificing Xia Li's undefeated streak for a storyline when they don't plan to have Dakota Kai actually win the title. Well, maybe Dakota Kai will win the title and still get called up. Happened with Karrion Kross. Welcome, Bill. So how the devil are you? Welcome to the show. And Megan also saying, evening all evening, Megan. Joey says, when will Roman Reigns lose the Universal Championship? In my eyes, it'll happen May next year. But with what's been offered to Adam Cole, I don't think we can really guarantee this. I really don't. Reigns use a few more pops for that one. Megan says, stream went well, thank you. Slowly gaining followers, which is good. That's good to hear, Megan. That's good to hear. At some point, I hope to send a raid your way. We have quite a few regulars here who are aware of Megan, our stat queen, in the chat. If you're interested in the gaming side, Megan does stream. I've seen her play quite a lot of Star Wars, for example, which you may want to check out. Megan, if you'd like to tell us more about what you're streaming at the moment, I do believe she's definitely worth a follow. Ring Scoop says, WWE signing as much talent as they do and not using them only to release them is like going to a buffet. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach. You overfill your plate, eat half the food, and throw the rest away. That is literally exactly what is happening. Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head perfectly there, Ring Scoops. That's exactly what happened. AK Ray says, waiting for Volta versus Dragunov 2 would surely steal the night. Possibly. Possibly. We are, after all, going to get another Adam Cole match. You never can tell. Matt says, Dakota Kai tweeted that her heart broke with the releases and then deleted the tweet. I did see that. She wasn't told to delete the tweet, but it was suggested to several people that maybe they shouldn't be so open about it, which sucks. D. Freeman says, Kaylee Ray's supposed to be a surprise for TakeOver, and the contract NXT UK people make is more than they ever made. Debatable, mate. Debatable. But ultimately, the comparison for NXT UK is how much you can make in WWE, just not in NXT UK. As regards TakeOver, I'm not sure. I think it's more likely that Kaylee Ray will feature after TakeOver as the next opponent for Raquel Gonzalez and probably the person to take the championship from her. Patrick says Santos Escobar is a star. As for the other two, they are bombs. Yeah, but they add to the Santos Escobar story. They add to his overall mystique. The User says, hi, mate. Hello, The User. Welcome to the show. And Megan says, I'm playing through the Wrath of the Druids DLC on Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and we'll be moving on to Siege of Paris when that launches next week. So any Assassin's Creed fans, you know where to go. Joey Drake says, is Sasha Banks winning the SmackDown Women's title at SummerSlam? I firmly believe that she is indeed. Yes. So, I've caught up with the chat. I'm going to go through, again, the information that I have on these releases and the update. Once again, there are currently 18 people watching on YouTube. If you can, and if you're watching on YouTube, please do remember to click like on the video. That really does help me grow, and it's really the simplest, tiniest little thing. You can do that, and it will make a huge difference to me without taking much away from you. Also, if you are new to the channel, please do remember to subscribe. We are currently sitting at 655 subscribers, which is absolutely incredible, and I am massively grateful for that. Also, if you're watching for the first time on Twitch, you can also follow on Twitch. Please do remember that, and please do so if you can. Right, let's go over this one more time. NXT's move to Tuesday was the beginning of the end for NXT as a brand in its own right. Vince McMahon openly says that he doesn't care about AEW, but he was not happy at all to have lost so convincingly on Wednesday nights. NXT barely even touched the sides by the end of it. He has demanded changes across the board, and those changes are definitely coming. The releases are with this in mind. Those being released are simply people that Vince McMahon was not impressed by. Some names, such as Mercedes Martinez and Bobby Fish, for example, are people that Vince and Nick Khan had long-standing concerns over. Others, such as Bronson Reed, were people that Triple H and Shawn Michaels were putting over at every opportunity, but when Vince gives you a tryout match, you need to impress. Otherwise, unfortunately, this happens. These releases were not people on major contracts. They were not necessarily victims of the same cost-benefit analysis that has been used for other names. No, what has actually happened is that Nick Khan has settled on a strategy to face off AEW, and that is to essentially wait for the Khan family to either bankrupt or board. Either have AEW spend all their money and go out of business, or just get bored and pull their investment. I'm really not sure they're onto a winner. The names being released are a mixture of experienced talent, which would strengthen the overall training and morale, and younger talent who would feed ambition and enthusiasm. This really leaves NXT in a very difficult position. There are a couple of names that were nearing the end of their contracts, but really not many. NXT now has very few fresh young faces to bring through, and even fewer experienced hands to guide them. That said, NXT still has a hell of a lot of people on that roster. This might not be everyone gone just yet. How does Adam Cole play into this? Well, from the noises coming out of the WWE, the crisis talks with Vince McMahon apparently went very well, though nobody will confirm or deny if there was any connection to the releases and the contract status. Reports have started to emerge confirming what I reported during the SmackDown live show and watch party that we did last night, that Adam Cole was being offered a major contract that would put him on par with some of the top earners in the company. We knew that we were touching 7 figures, and here we are with reports being made confirming that. It's clear that the WWE were trying to free some funding up, but the vast majority of the names released were not high earners. It's notable that one of those released was Bobby Fish, a close friend of Adam Cole and a partner in the Undisputed Era. It would be a huge surprise to me if Adam Cole was happy to sign a contract literally funded by the firing of his friends, but the contract may already have been signed. Objects may already be in motion. As I've said previously, keep an eye on the Chugs Twitch channel. Keep an eye on Up, Up, Down, Down. How Cole features in the next few weeks will be key indicators of what is to come. As usual with contract negotiations, he's been pitched some storylines and almost all of them involve championships and main event feuds from day one. The last question we need to answer is as regards the future of NXT, and I'll start by being blunt. The future is not bright for NXT. The WWE main roster, primarily Bruce Pritchard, John Laurinaitis, Vince McMahon, and Nick Khan, have all stepped in and taken over, and it has been made clear to Triple H that he has no say in the changes that are about to come. The ongoing conversations are about modernization and profit margins. Don't be surprised to see your ticket costs go up. The production quality and physical appearance will be brought in line with the WWE standard. The changes we're looking at are very simple. If NXT isn't making money for the WWE President Nick Khan wants to change that. Adam Cole is unlikely to be a part of this new look NXT. Neither is Karrion Kross. Remember always that the WWE still have plans to drain NXT of several of its more promising talent. This isn't finished. The next few weeks for NXT are going to be very, very telling. Keep your eyes peeled, because we all know what happens when Vince McMahon gives up on one of his projects. NXT will be wearing a Hulk Hogan suit and dancing for the crowd in no time. Right, one final catch-up. Let's have a look. Ring Scoop says, I'm looking forward to the day LA Knight makes it to Raw or SmackDown. That dude is a major star. He certainly has a lot going for him. I don't necessarily think he'll be leaving anytime soon. I think he'll be NXT for a little while yet. But hopefully he at least sticks around because he was on a pretty good contract as well. Frankie says, done. Thank you very much for that. Like, Frankie. Patrick says, I'm not surprised Vince hated Bronson's tryout matches. Didn't say that. Didn't say that. Just said he wasn't impressed enough to keep him. Don't know what that last word is there for, but welcome, Corey. Glad to see you. Joey says, is Johnny Gargano going to the main roster? He doesn't want to. It's not necessarily his decision. And Invasaloco, let me know if I got that wrong, says, how are you? I'm good, thank you, other than the fact that we've had some releases recently. Welcome to the show. Anan says, what is WWE trying to do with Corbin? They were trying him to look like facing as Nakamura, and now again there is heelish tendencies again. Yeah, they're trying not to overdo it. They're trying not to be too obvious and go full face when they can sort of pull back a little bit every now and then. He was used as a heel for Finn Balor. To essentially make sure that you don't boo John Cena. He was just used for that. Matt said, Bronson Reed is the only release star from last night that actually had a main roster tryout match. That we know of. Matt. That's the issue. We don't actually know. Now, what made you change for NXT? I've just covered most of that. Let me just reiterate. Main roster, primarily Bruce Pritchard, John Laurinaitis, Vince McMahon, and Nick Khan have all stepped in and taken over, so he made clear to Triple H he has no say in the changes that are about to come. Ongoing conversations are about modernization of profit margins, ticket prices likely to go up, production quality and physical appearance brought in line with the WWE standards. Essentially, they want to try and make more money and earn money. Very unlikely that they will be at Survivor Series. Same thing for Nakamura's character. He's just sort of there at the minute. He's there to pop a crowd. He gets a couple of good moments. He might be an IC champion soon. Who can tell? What is my prediction for John Cena versus Roman Reigns? Roman Reigns will beat the ever-living shit out of John Cena and leave with his championship. That's my prediction there. I would go the other direction there, Matt. I think the fact that they are not making money means that they are likely to be going on the road sooner rather than later. Could there be a point when NXT gets taken off the USA Network? Yes, there could definitely be a point when that happens. There are many points when it could happen, but I don't see the WWE choosing that. Not many people really focus on this, but the WWE have a contract that states they provide 2 shows for the USA Network. Previously, those 2 shows were Raw and SmackDown. When SmackDown moved to Fox, they moved it to Raw and NXT. That's the contract. That's why NXT was moved to TV. Invader Loco says, do you think the main roster ruins Karrion Kross? Not yet, but I think they're not on the great trajectory. D. Freeman says, Nick Khan won't be around the next 3 years. I feel Vince will be pushed out. Led by TV heads because ratings will drop. What do you think? I don't think ratings will drop that much, got to be completely honest. I don't think ratings will drop that much. Vince will not be pushed out. No chance in hell Vince McMahon will be pushed out. It's possible he will choose to walk away. But if you are a regular on my YouTube, you'll know that Vince McMahon is a lot less involved than he has been, and that Nick Khan essentially has completely overtaken a lot of Vince McMahon's previous duties. I recently got a comment from someone on the video stating that Vince McMahon was less involved and that Nick Khan was taking over a lot of the duties, when I was essentially called a fraud, which was hilarious because literally, have you not been watching? Nick Khan is releasing all of these people and Vince McMahon is not in charge of it. Have you not been paying attention? I was like that. It's a good question, Michael. They are still hoping to do so. I don't think it's happening. No, I don't think we're going to see a triple threat at SummerSlam. I think Finn Balor will be kept for Extreme Rules. And Patrick says, Indy Hartwell and Dexter are the only good thing about NXT. I like her storyline. NXT is not what it was. It really isn't. Right, all caught up with the chat. I've shared the news. So at this point, I am going to head off and I'm going to get me some dinner. I'm going to get me some... Nice, Cara. Like it. Nice power. Khan versus Khan at this point. Definitely. I'm going to go get me some dinner. I'm going to wrap it up. Do we have anyone to raid? We sent a raid to Love Wrestling recently. We'll get Ed and Astrid. Let's raid Love Wrestling. Let's do that. Let's send a raid to Love Wrestling. That's becoming tradition at this point. But hey, two of our channel members are on their show, so let's throw some support out there. Anand says, will WWE wait for shake-up for Big E's cash-in? Maybe Kofi and Woods come back to SmackDown. It would be Usos versus Reigns, Bloodline versus New Day. Both champions will change hands to New Day. Very, very unlikely. From what I'm hearing, from what seems likely based on storylines, I think Big E will be cashing in on Bobby Lashley. Not quite, because AEW won't be picking up that many more people. Michael says, see you tomorrow if you stream. I'm planning to stream. Sorry, bear with me 1 second. I'm planning to stream tomorrow to start The Last of Us Part 2. Keep an eye out for that. We'll see what actually happens, got to be completely honest, but it is what it is. Okay, everyone's saying goodbye. Was he just enjoying the calm versus calm moment? And that is us. Thank you, everyone. If you're watching on YouTube, please do remember to click like on the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching on Twitch, please do remember to follow. You'll get more news and information in the days to come. If you're watching on Twitch, please do stick around for the raid. I have been Tom Collihew. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you very soon.